Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Ranty Flat Earth, Righteous Force, Sleeping Warrior, who else we got? Chocolate Saying, Paul Hall, 10th Man. Did I miss anybody? Hopefully not. Chocolate Saying.
Me, that's it.
Okay, everybody?
That's it.
Howdy.
Good
Flapzoid.
morning. Good morning, everyone.
Flatzoid. Hello, Flatzoid.
Must be my mic.
Hi, Slurpy Warrior.
Shut up, Ranty.
You timed out Ranty. He's even one of my channel members in the Premier stream today.
Do you have any evidence of that assertion, Nathan?
I watched you do it.
Oh. Okay.
That's-
I'm sorry, Ranty. I was only being naughty.
Don't abuse the pay in public.
I couldn't help it. He said, here's the wanker or something like that. And I was like, right then, you little bastard.
Oh, no, you read it wrong. I said, who's this wanker? Because I was listening back to the premiere that Nathan did, and I'm thinking, who's this guy that Nathan's talking to? So I said, who's this wanker?
M Stone. Right. So shout out to Skeezer NZ, who's my latest channel member, who's joined as a penguin. So thank you very much. I'll also do a couple of random shout outs to a few other penguins. So just give me 10 seconds while I just
I'm a
bring up the
penguin.
penguins. Yeah, I know you're a penguin.
penguin.
Shout out to Ranty Flat Earth, who's a penguin. But I'll do a couple of others. So shout out to Joseph369, who's also a penguin. Shout out to Dank, who's a penguin. Shout out to Neo the One, who's a penguin. Henrik, he's also one of my Patreons, I believe. And Awesome Austin. So big shout out to all of those penguins. Right, should we do some house?
Hang on, wait a minute. What's Sleeping Warrior?
I'm the boss.
He's a moderator.
What's this penguin thing? Explain this penguin thing.
Right, the
It
lowest
feels like I've
member.
gone back 12 months and I'm in IPS.
Yeah, I picked it because of its relevance. So yes, it was absolutely because IPS has penguins. So the lowest member level that they would allow was $2, and I'm like, right, well, what can I call that? I'm like, what's something that's flat Earth and is associated with lots of something? Well, I thought penguins. Oh, that's all right. I'm going to go with animals. I like animals because in Benjamin he used bear, and I thought, yeah, that's good. Bear, yeah, animals. Why not? You've got to think of a list of something. So I thought, well, what's got a slight amount of relevance to what we talk about? Well, you've got penguins because of IPS. You've got hyenas. I don't think that needs any explanation. Lion. I was going to call it Aslan, but I just wanted to keep it a bit more simple. I think that needs no explanation. If it does, I'll do it now. Aslan needs any explanation? Lion? No?
No. Narnia.
Yeah, Narnia. Unicorn. And then the highest level, I really struggle with. I'm like, what can I have that's like slightly comical but related? And I thought Yoda, because I was doing a Star Wars Lego that I got for Christmas. So I was like, Yoda, yeah. Why not? Why not have the top level be Yoda? It's slightly absurd. So there we go. So that's all the membership levels, basically.
Is Yoda an animal?
Go ahead. Yeah, you're right. We never went to the moon.
I asked, is Yoda animal?
Well, precisely. That's another thing another reason why I picked it. I'm like, could you even classify that as an animal? Well, yeah, why not?
I know why you said that.
So if we treat Yoda as an animal and we talk about Yoda as an animal, and the more we talk about animals and if we argue about a particular characteristic about Yoda's animal status, does it make him an animal?
It's a classification joke.
And it's also a reification fallacy, isn't it?
Yeah.
The more you talk about something, the more real it becomes. A bit like gravity.
Right on. I could classify Yoda as an animal.
Yeah.
In fact, biologically speaking, he's got, I think it's 14% dandelion. Did you know that?
Again, somebody was rumbling the mic.
Hey, Arwin.
Hello.
Oh, no surprises there. Hello, Arwin. What did you say,
back
Nathan,
to penguins.
14%?
On the sort of what I'll give you for memberships, the one that I didn't say I'd shout out live was penguins, but I thought, well, just because there's obviously going to be a lot more of them, but I thought once in a while just do like random shout outs for penguins, so look, you might get shouted out as a penguin, but the other memberships levels I've said, yeah, maybe once a week I'll do a full shout out of all those. But there you go, that's the skinny on memberships. Click the join button if you're on a PC, and I think Android's got a join button, and there's a link in the info box if you can't see a join button. Right, should we do some housekeeping?
Yes.
No. You haven't introduced the others.
Discord. Hello, Discord.
Nobody ever speaks in Discord anyway. It's like tumbleweed when it comes to this part of the show.
There you go. Horizontal level literalist said hello.
Good morning.
SX said hello. What do you want? They're nice people.
Okay.
You're good people, Discord, aren't you?
Okay, so let's get through housekeeping, Nathan.
Yeah.
Okay. Any evidence of a physical globe edge capable of
No.
geometric measurement?
No.
No.
But what do the boats go over?
They don't. They just dissolve to nothing because it's like looking down the length of the swimming pool, Nathan. They just gradually dissolve to nothing and become all messy and obscured, caused by atmospheric conditions that they call refraction and bend the earth, and it's complete nonsense.
Hold
Would it
on.
just be
Not just
optical?
that.
Hold on, go on, Arwin.
Part of the boat is also going to be basically hidden, concealed because of the diffraction, causing things to reflect at some point because you're looking at a very tight angle over a very flat surface. So it's
So
going
that-
to hide itself in the concealment zone.
Hold on, I'm going to
because
boil
of
that down.
diffraction.
You've conflated two things. So you're talking about the diffraction limit, that's an angular limitation, and the angle of incidence creating a reflection. Well, those are two different things. But yes, I know what you're saying,
No,
Arwin,
no,
and
no,
you're
I'm
correct.
not. I'm talking about diffraction, not diffraction limit of cameras.
I think he's just trying to put it as it's all optical.
No, it's a specific effect. It's a specific optical effect that happens both light and even physical matter, okay, when it is being displaced. When it's moving past a flat surface, it's going to deflect down at some point.
Is that proof of a physical globe edge?
No, it's actually completely the contrast. It completely explains the visual and why it's not. It's just moving in a concealment zone that is the natural side effect of the optical slant, which is caused, or the horizon, by the diffraction. Diffraction is the thing that causes it.
Did you know? Did you know your eyes work with diffraction, with refraction?
Right. With diffraction, I mean the light deviating effect, like a nudge.
Okay, I'm going to do a couple of shout outs. So, shout out to Passway Toe, who says, shout out Marcus Gurnier. Keep educating ballers. Thank you very much for the super chat. Also, Alexander, happy Friday, 4 more hours. Well, I do 2 shows on a Friday, so there's going to be 4 hours. So, subscribe to the second channel if you're not already. There's a
Feels a bit like we're on an American chat show, Nathan, with adverts every 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's been a lot of plugs at the beginning of this show. Right, yeah, okay. Smash the super chat as well, by the way. Thank you very much, Alexander. Happy Friday to you too.
Okay.
Any evidence
next
of,
question. Thanks for rumpusing that one, Arwin.
any evidence of Earth curvature?
Interesting.
Ugh. Any evidence? Any evidence of Earth curve? Any evidence of Earth curve?
No.
Not
No,
from
I think-
platform. Not from platform habitat.
No, I think the previous question demolished this one.
Did anybody catch 10th answer?
Hey, models are curved. the
I'll
Earth is
match. I'll match 10's answer with not. He said not from platform habitat. I'll say not from the beach where platform habitat was filmed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
So
just as
curvature from
catchy.
there.
Well done, Chocolate. That was so catchy.
Thank you.
I do have what's the word? A comeback based on something that happened on Ranty's Flat Earth channel last night with the rumpus. When we finished housekeeping, come back to me, Nathan. I just want to do a little 2-minute presentation demonstrating that rumpus is A, wrong, B, lying, and C, misleading people. So come back to me at the end of housekeeping.
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun.
So no Earth code. What about axial rotation?
Axial? What's an axial rotation if of the Earth-based kind? We need a turning planet for there to be an axis, right?
Which would require curvature and that physical edge we were talking about. So
And some movement.
Like a spinning
Wouldn't you
top.
also need a foundation to figure out the 23.5?
Yep. And if it's constantly wandering, how do they know it's wandering? What are they proving the wandering of the axial tilt based on? Where's the frame of reference for it? It's all nonsense.
That wasn't rhetorical. Anybody want to answer Sleeping Warrior's question?
Well, they're never going to answer it because no one knows. There is no frame of reference to measure this rotating, tilting thing.
Anybody?
Frames of reference.
Coriolis,
How about
Owen.
the physical side effects? You know?
No. Any scientific
No.
evidence of gravity?
No. How can they give scientific evidence for an effect?
That's not my problem.
Gravity's not force.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Nope.
Well, it's not a physical force.
Gravity.
Oh, that was an interesting one.
establish scientific evidence, first you need to know what it is.
Did you hear Fight the
Just
Flat
one
Earth?
second. Hold on. Go ahead, Elijah.
Gravity is so last year.
Yeah.
Gravity so
dead and buried.
2019.
Gravity's dead and buried. Did you hear Fight the Flat Earth on this point on gravity recently? He wants to debate me on gas pressure in a vacuum, and I'm like, I've got no interest in talking to you because of the way you are with people. But I said I'd consider it if he put out a video admitting that gravity was not a force. And when he put out his video, it's like when the Daily Mirror on the front page say Prince Charles is whatever, and then at the end of page 17 they have to issue an apology, and they do it in little 2 lines at the bottom. He did the same kind of thing with me because he says, "Oh, so Sleeping Warrior wants me to admit that gravity is not a force. So here we go, Sleeping Warrior, just for you. Gravity is not a physical force." And I'm like, why have you put the word physical in it? I'm sure there's a trap in there somewhere. I'm curious to know why he didn't say just gravity is not a force.
So if it's not a physical force, what kind of force is it then?
I don't know. Apparent force, maybe? Otherwise known as an effect?
It is. So it is. Right.
I don't know. He's just an interesting bloke fighting a flat earth. He won't. He's like Rumpus. He won't ever admit that he's wrong about anything ever.
I don't think that makes him interesting though, but
He's not
listen,
using science. Is he?
until you're cool enough to teach your kids how to find their location on Earth with nothing but a swinging pendulum, you will never be that cool.
Oh my god.
Was that an axial rotation claim?
Is that the evidence for axial rotation? Fight the Flat Earth can teach his children how to find their location on Earth with a pendulum. Is that the evidence?
I'd love to hear it. Yes, please.
how does that work?
that's
gonna do a
not
video.
evidence for
How does it
anything.
work?
Hold on. Go ahead, horizontal level literalist.
I'd like to see him prove
hold
where
on,
he is on the
Sleeping
Earth
Warrior.
with a pendulum test.
Oh yes. Bev is the
hold on,
one who
Chocolate.
he tells things
Hello?
like this too. So
Hello?
he's the perfect one.
It's that
Hello?
his tweet is in the live stream if you're looking at it. He's
Thanks,
taught
Bev.
his kids how to calculate their position on Earth exactly using nothing but a swinging pendulum. He's a genius. He's not told anybody else how to do this yet, but
I'd like to see.
he's
So
on
how
it.
do you calculate it? By swinging a pendulum?
I'd like to see him calculate it or prove his
Children.
position on Earth with a pendulum. That'd be a really good video. Fight the Flat Earth. I think it's called Science. That you think is science. Let's see that.
Would you do it if you were swinging?
He's told me he's waiting on the council to give him permission to use a block of flats to do it.
Hold on. Panels,
he's
guys.
blocked me now,
Guys,
like.
can you not hear him talking? Go ahead,
Yeah.
horizontal level literalist.
Yeah, he's told me he's waiting on the council to do this.
Oh really?
Experiment, yeah. It's coming according to him. He is going to do this, yeah. But so I've told him the stipulations are it has to be easy enough to teach a child to do without a calculator and just a pendulum. And he has to position themselves exactly, which is a phenomenal task. Yeah. He's claimed he can do it.
So we don't know
Anyway, it's never
precisely
gonna
how it's done yet. Fine. So
No,
as yet,
yeah, waiting for the news on it.
fine. To be announced. Okay. So we'll wait with bated breath for this. Maybe it's an axial rotation claim. Who knows? We'll see. Go ahead. Was it Sleeping Warrior?
Are we done with housekeeping?
Not all. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
No. Shout outs to Danny Faulkner, wrote a book about debunking flat earth claims. I mean, how many people in flat earth really make claims? There's not that many of us, but he managed to write a book debunking the claims of the flat earth. And when it comes to the section about gravity, he didn't seem to think it was necessary to mention the current position in science of Einstein. He starts talking about debunking flat earthers with Newtonian physics. What a moron.
Shout out
No
Retract.
hypothesis, no science.
Newtonian physics. No hypothesis claim, so how does that debunk anything?
Just shows his level of research. It's like he couldn't be more newbie in the topic, and he's written a bloody book.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Nope.
What is the sun?
Light in
I
the
don't know.
sky.
I don't know. Sorry. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No.
I don't think there is a distance to the sun beyond appearances.
What about the R value? Earth radius?
The only time R value comes into the topic is when they need to argue about refraction, because it's in a little calculator, their adjustment thing that makes a curvy Earth look flat. They need it for then. Other than that, it doesn't come into the conversation much at all.
About a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of said presupposed spherical Earth.
The only one that I'm aware of that has evidence for that, Nathan, is Paul Voigt, back from about debate number 120-ish, something like that. And he says that we're too stupid to be able to understand it, so he won't give it us.
To be announced also. Okay. Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container?
I believe Fight the Flat Earth has got some claim on this. I'm not entirely sure. I don't want to paraphrase it and make a mess of it. But I believe Fight the Flat Earth has got some claims for this. It'd be interesting to see if he could actually present evidence of this so-called claim that he has. So look forward to that one, Fight the Flat Earth. Again, that's not going to be coming in. It's a work in progress.
That concludes housekeeping. I've got you presented, Sleeping Warrior.
Woohoo! Okay, so over on Ranty Flat Earth channel last night, Rumpus and I, we had a conversation or a disagreement where I allowed Rumpus to beg the question with regards to the oil platforms that we're currently talking about. And our question is simple. How is the horizon behind the platform when it should be just 1.2 miles from the observer and clearly in the foreground? And nobody seems to want to answer it. They all give answers, but they don't want to answer it directly. And Rumpus came up with an answer last night, and it was basically refraction. Now, I knew that they were going to argue it, but we also know the limitations for refraction. And my position was that there's no evidence to support the assertion that light is bending the way that he claims it is because of the effect known as non-standard refraction. So I managed to get him pinned down within the argument of non-standard refraction. And he was arguing that light curves in the atmosphere, and light doesn't curve in the atmosphere. Light follows Fermat's principle on the trajectory of light, which varies from point to point, but deviates from a straight line. Now, we all know what straight means, and we all know what curve means, but Rumpus thinks that curve means straight. He thinks that curve means deviates from straight. But when it's point to point to point, deviating from straight, that can't be a curve. Rumpus wouldn't ever concede it. And he come up with this a visualization of I don't know exactly which one it was, but he was basically showing water being being used and sugar water, bending a laser beam that was being fired through it. I'm just doing it with salt because I was just doing a bit more research. But the point was, I said to Rumpus Live, I said the reason why the light is curving is because what is it? Fructose, sugar, and sucrose, or what? I can't remember the 3 types of sugar, but it doesn't matter. The 3 sugars are something called dextrorotatory. Now, the fructose, sucrose, and something else, the 3 sugars, whatever they are, they've got a rotation element to them. And Rumpus argued incorrectly that all it did was change the polarization of the light. And that is true. It does change the polarization of light. But Rumpus argued that it didn't bend the light. So I'm going to do a couple of frames now where I'm aware of the copyright claim, Nathan, so don't worry. But the 3 sugars are dextrorotatory to different degrees. One of them is 52.7 degrees positive. The other one is 66.5 degrees positive rotation. But the third one is minus 92 negative rotation. And this means that 2 of them are going to behave in a similar way. And the third one is going to do the opposite. So he's got 2 vials on this occasion, but when he gets the 3 of them and he puts this guy puts all 3 sugar solutions and he lights them up and he passes a torch behind them. Now, if Rumpus is correct, then all of these 3 things will not do anything different to each other because they will all behave in the same way. However, because it's dextrorotatory, not only does it align up the polarization, which he was correct about, it also bends light according to the rotation that they have. Rumpus denied this vehemently because it debunks the argument that lasers being shone through sugar solution bend because it's being shone through the molecule known as sugar. Rumpus wouldn't accept that. So what I'm going to show now is when this guy gets his light, he's got the 3 vials. Now, as he passes the torch from one side to the other, they should all do the same thing if it doesn't bend light differently because of the dextrorotatory effect. But unfortunately, it doesn't do that. And I'll have to play it a couple of times. It's only a few seconds. But you can see that the way that they behave, let me just get it to the relative point. Not Einstein relative point. There you go. You can see that as he's shining the torch through them, passing one way, then the other, they're all acting independently to each other. They're not the same. Now, if Rumpus was correct, they would all do the same thing at the same time because it's not bending the light, but it is bending the light. So the dextrorotation element, or the attribute known as dextrorotation of sugar and salt solutions, causes the light to bend. And that's the reason why he's able to manipulate the sugar solution to make it look as though the light will bend in a gradient. But it isn't the gradient that's causing it. And this is proof that it's the dextrorotation element of the sugar molecule itself that is not only changing the polarization of light, which he was correct about, it also bends the light differently to each other by virtue of its existence. So basically, it's a fraudulently cherry-picked piece of evidence to make people think that that light can bend through a gradient, but it's not being bent through a gradient that's causing its curve. It's dextrorotatory of the molecule known as fructose, sucrose, and whatever else they are. So anybody in future that presents you either sugar solution or salt solution and a laser shining through it, you just need to remember that it's dextrorotatory and it does bend the light. Rumpus is incorrect. They're deceiving you with saying that this is caused by the gradient, and it isn't. It's caused by the dextrorotation effect of the sugars. I'm done. Thank you very much.
Anthony, can I ask you a question?
So it's the refraction index, basically, of the sugar.
No,
Yes.
it's the dextrorotation aspect of the
second.
sugar, not the refraction index.
Paul, you're breaking up. I don't know if you can drop and rejoin.
But how is that different to general refraction changes, like, going through glass?
Because sugar and salt are dextrorotatory, but the atmosphere, it doesn't have a dextrorotation element to it. Atmospheric light diffuses speculatively in all directions, whereas sugar is dextrorotatory, and it does change the polarity, he's right, but it also bends the light differently, and that's why the curve is there. It's got nothing to do with the gradient.
Hold on just one second.
Well,
Owen.
refraction in air is never going to be as strong, of course, as any liquid solutions, because those are just proven to deflect a lot more. But what is so special about salt and sugar? Any solution will typically do that.
I just told you it's dextrorotatory, but the atmosphere is not.
Of course it isn't, because it's not water.
Owen, just one sec.
Yeah, but
Paul,
water's not dextrorotatory.
My God. Paul, can I get a mic check?
Is that better?
Yes. Go ahead. You had a question you wanted to ask. Go ahead.
Is the air a liquid?
It's a fluid.
No, it's not a fluid.
Well, it's treated as a fluid.
No, it's not.
Not my question. Is air a liquid?
No, air is a gas.
Then his example is a false equivalency fallacy.
I know.
False equivalency.
It is that too. What they can argue that they're both fluids and therefore they're connected.
No, you can't. It's not a fluid.
No, I know. But all I wanted to do was demonstrate that dextrorotation of the sugar and the salt molecule causes light to bend, contrary to Rumpus's claim that I was talking shit. I'm not. It does. We can demonstrate it. And if we can demonstrate it, then my one's true. So what Rumpus now needs to do is find me some element of science or chemistry where it says that the dextrorotation of molecules and then demonstrate it does not bend light, because it does. I've just demonstrated it. Dextrorotation.
Where did you get that word from?
I don't know. It's a fantastic word, isn't it?
Well, it makes for a sweet argument.
You don't know where you got it from, but what?
Oh, no,
popped into your head?
All right. I got that answer from FE Core many months ago.
Right.
And it's just a word I remember.
Okay. Oh, I'd like to know a little bit more about that, about the effect, how it was established.
Just Google the phrase dextrorotation in sugar, and you'll find all the information out there that you need to know.
Yeah, but
the thing is, remember the definition for PSYOP. The definition for PSYOP is where they selectively produce evidence that is supporting their particular view to influence your thought process. Now, if they're selectively and incorrectly showing you sugar solution that is dextrorotatory to give you the perception that a gradient will cause light to bend, and it's not, it's the dextrorotation of the molecule that is the classic definition for a PSYOP, because they selectively give you information to manipulate your thoughts and processes to make you think that a gradient causes bendy light, and it doesn't.
Do we live in a sugar solution?
No, that's why I was contrasting it from the atmosphere that's not dextrorotatory.
Okay, I see what this is. This is specifically about the light alteration, or rather the deflection when looking through liquids. So it was kind of that. So it doesn't really matter if it's sugar or salt or any kind of substance that dissolves in water. That's going to add on to the effect, because it's just general refraction. And yeah, it is in specific to liquids, though. That was my point. And of course, the air is never going to reach that level ever.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
but what they would argue that over a 30-mile observation, that it compresses it and it effectively makes it look that way if you use
like
liquid.
to see people dissolve sugar or salt in the air.
And that's why I'm making the point, so that everybody's aware that the sugar solution that they use, Mick West uses it to demonstrate bendy laser light, is only bending not because it's a gradient, but because the attributes of the molecule, the sucrose molecule, is dextrorotatory. And anybody that says that it doesn't bend light, it only changes the polarization, hasn't seen it being demonstrated. It is demonstrated.
So Anthony,
can it also be density then?
Thanks. Was a good informative.
How much sugar solution was there from the 1 foot observer height looking at the platforms?
Of course, there was zero, but Rumpus is using that example to demonstrate that light follows a curved path in the atmosphere. It doesn't. It follows Fermat's principle on the trajectory of light, which deviates from straight at every single point along the path. It does not follow a curved path, and that's what he was trying to deceive people into thinking that light did, and it doesn't.
Well, they're the ones saying that every time we show a picture of a horizon that is flat, that's an optical effect. And then when we show them a picture of the horizon that is flat beyond what it's supposed to be based on their radius of their own sphere model, now that's an optical illusion.
Yeah.
See, they want it both ways, don't they? They're dead with the horizon being more than 1.22 miles. And so that's where we got to stick with the argument. But it was very exciting to hear and believe that the matrix is what caused the flatness to occur. someone messing with the matrix.
Spooky refraction.
Spooky refraction, yeah. Anything but the alternative, because you asked him, Anthony. You remember in the last part? Well, what's the alternative? What's another alternative? And he kept dancing, and he never would say, okay, one alternative could be that I'm right, you're right, and I'm wrong about the nature of the Earth. He never got there.
Yeah, he wouldn't. He would rather
Yeah.
argue that we might live in a simulation that accept that the equal and opposite interpretation is that there's no refraction and the Earth might actually not be a sphere after all. It might even be flat. He wouldn't say that. He would rather argue that it could be a simulation instead, and that just demonstrates how dishonest that is. The equal and opposing argument is that the Earth might not be curving the way that they say, and the refraction was very little.
And in that matrix, how would you describe the aspect of geometry specifically relating to the nature of our reality we see in these pictures?
Euclidean.
So flat. So although he said matrix, inside that matrix we're presented with flat reality, correct?
Yes.
But hold on, isn't the matrix anywhere based on flat?
Well, he's showing you his models. He's showing you the matrix and saying the picture isn't real. The picture's the matrix. No, you retard. The picture's not the matrix. Your model that's broken and doesn't match the picture is the matrix, you moron. The globe is the matrix.
Weird that everything is always based on a flat plane and then changed to what needed to be.
Now, notice the similarity in what we just discussed Rumpus saying as to when the people who believe in evolution and no creator, when they had to give an answer to intelligence and DNA and all that, they say, okay, it's aliens, someone, but they can't say God. Just like the ballers can't say, okay, it could be flat. They just won't go there.
Flat inside the matrix, they believe that it is when the picture doesn't match their matrix. Anyway, shout out to Agent Dubsky. He says, this $5 is for hiding the Rumpus spam. Thanks and love your face, Nathan. I didn't hide anybody's spam, so if one of the moderators did, kudos to them, but thank you for the super chat, Agent Dubsky.
Yeah, let me just respond to the Rumpus in chat. He says, Sleeping Warrior, you stupid. That experiment in YouTube is a polarizing test. It does not change the path of light. I demonstrated that it did change the path of light, because if it didn't change the path of light, Rumpus, the three solutions would have done the same thing, but they didn't. Two of them went the same way, the other one went the opposite way. So if it wasn't changing the path of light, then why did they not do the same thing as per your interpretation of what you think I don't understand in the context of polarization? I'm demonstrating that you're wrong, Rumpus. Why don't you join and you can tell me how stupid I am and everybody will laugh at you because I can demonstrate that you're wrong, but you can't demonstrate that you're right.
Sleeping?
Did you?
Yeah, Rumpus. Yeah, Rumpus, come on the show.
just
I'd like
before
to
you
hear
do
about
that-
the Matrix a little bit more.
Do you remember this image from yesterday, Toby?
Could I offer?
Do I remember the what from yesterday?
Do you remember this image from yesterday?
Oh yes. Well, there was more to say about that.
There was. Can I just show you what I meant when I had his toast to the fire and I was talking about this being probably an exact replica of how this would present itself in reality if we were just using Fermat's principle. Rumpus then decided to get. Hang on, what did he do? He got a shape. And he tried to put an Earth curve in like this, and I went, "What are you doing?" So this is your image that you drew. You drew the observer looking at a lighthouse, and Fermat's principle will change the trajectory of light ever so slightly up and down, giving you this wavy effect here. So this is identical representation from a side-on view. But then he tried to put a globe in. He tried to block it off, and I went, "What are you doing?"
The other thing is there's 2 points here that's silly. One, if you look at the direction that he's got on the arrowheads, he's got all the light rays going out towards the lighthouse, but they actually should be going into the photographer. So basically what he's showing there is that the lighthouse is seeing the cameraman taking a picture of himself, not the cameraman taking a picture of the lighthouse.
Oh yeah, those arrows should be this way, shouldn't they?
Yeah, they should be the other way. And the other thing is, because he's got them evenly spaced out across the length of the height of the lighthouse, it means that the way that the lighthouse would be presented in the real world would be proportionate and it wouldn't be distorted at all, because the path that the light ray takes doesn't influence where it hits the target. So based on what he's showing there, because he'd have to have them all to represent stretchy and distorty or whatever. He'd have to have the light rays randomly hitting the lighthouse at different points to demonstrate the effect that we see. But he's got the arrows facing the wrong way, and he's not showing them deviating from straight. He's showing them deviating from straight, but he's claiming that they're actually following a curved path across the flat surface of the thing, and he's hitting them all evenly across the lighthouse. It's just complete and utter nonsense.
Right, 10 points to who can tell me what type of vision this is.
Muppet vision, Muppet vision.
And why is it called Muppet vision? Why do we call it that?
Because you never see the side of your own head, Nathan.
Right, so you've got the observation on the right and the observation. Oh, Ranty.
Yeah, sorry.
You got the observation on the left and the observer on the right. So in this particular depiction, the guy and what he sees is absolutely nothing like what's on screen. We're 90 degrees side on to the observation, and we're seeing the side of our own head. That's not how the world presents itself. But by doing so, along the line, along one of those lines, Ranty, you know, these wiggly lines, if you were to write the word a mile, the picture wouldn't change if you then added a few zeros onto it and made it 1,000 miles. The picture wouldn't change. And the height of the lighthouse is the same. So if that's 100 feet, for the sake of argument, and the guy's 6 feet, again, those values won't change if you change and put a few more zeros on the distance between them. You can say it's 1,000 miles, and you'll just have the same exact depiction, because it removes all aspects of perspective. So it doesn't matter how far you draw or what number you assign to this wiggly line, it's always going to be a 100-foot lighthouse and a 6-foot man. In reality, if you push those zeros up to 1,000 and we're not seeing the side of our own head, we're seeing something getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller till it disappears, well, they claim that that effect, perspective, is it going behind an earth curve, a physical obstruction that seems to pop up miles in the distance also, but that's a different issue. Thank you, Ranty. Thank you, Sleeping Warrior.
No worries. Has he joined? Join the panel?
No, there's a glitch in the matrix. We need someone to start moving it so he can join us.
Hello, Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, Rumpus, I want to ask you a question. I want to know why when Sleeping Warrior asks you what's another alternative, you can say, well, okay, if I'm wrong, then it's flat. But you have to go into, well, then we're in the matrix and someone's messing with us. I want to know what made you say that.
Yes, his matrix is a flat one. So it doesn't matter that he calls flat reality matrix and claims that the matrix is a photograph and his model is reality. That's just his upside down world he lives in.
But what he was focusing on was, what he was saying was, this picture or this video does not represent reality. And I'm like, okay, so this is a video that's shot that you could watch, but that doesn't represent reality. So you'd rather go to, it's a simulation and what we're seeing is not reality? Yeah. This is how bad this argument has you guys?
No, that is the argument. No, that is the argument. If you are a fundamentalist religious zealot with a globe belief, you deny the evidence of your own eyes. That's not reality. That's essentially him diluting what I'm saying into his cognitive spew. Yeah, it's not reality. What that picture represents to me is the Matrix, because it doesn't match this computer simulation, which is reality. He's got it backwards. No, your model with your sliders isn't reality. It's not the atmosphere. It's based on your presupposition of an R value and an extraction of that into a computer simulation. That is, by definition, the Matrix. He's inside a little model in a computer, saying that's the world. And when that worldview of the Matrix doesn't match a picture, suddenly the picture's the Matrix. No, the picture's just showing the world's flat as it presents itself. Now that's so cognitively painful to him that he'd rather have a photograph become a computer simulation because it doesn't match his computer simulation, which is real according to him.
Just to be clear, he's in the chat saying, we don't know how ray tracing works. We don't know how ray tracing works. Well, this is his diagram that he's put together. And he has, like Sleeping Warrior quite rightly points out, the arrows in the wrong direction. The arrows should be going towards the camera, not facing that direction.
Right.
So
what's this? Sorry, just on my picture now. Where's the ray tracing on this picture? On my screen right now. Where's the ray tracing? Is that
Yeah,
something we? Is that something
follow
we
a line.
experience? Is that something we experience in the Matrix? Because this is the Matrix on screen now, isn't it? So we experience this ray tracing in the Matrix. Is that a yes or no to that question? First of all, can anybody see ray tracing in this image that is claimed by Rumpus to be Matrix-like? Anybody see any rays traced or otherwise?
Only rays I see is the sunlight.
No, that's not really.
No, it's not reality. This is just a diagram someone drew to push a point.
Well, it's a simulated ray tracing in orthographic view. That's not real ray tracing.
I'm talking about my image of a sunset. Is that picture, which is claimed by Rumpus to be Matrix, does it have any ray tracing in it? See, simple yes or no.
No,
that's an active process. This is just...
No, I just need a no. Bloody hellfire. Right.
No.
Now, hold on. Now we move on to Ranty's picture. Right? Now, is this akin to my reality or more akin to a computer simulation depicted on your screen?
Nah.
I know.
Not even that. No, it's not even that because it's still orthographic view. Actual ray tracing is a 3D perspective inclusive.
You don't understand my question, Arwin. Arwin, I'm trying to make a point, Arwin. Arwin, I'm trying to make a point. Hello? I'm trying to make a bloody point. So, all I'm trying to juxtapose my reality, the picture I showed, like this, is this like the Matrix? Answer, no. Is this like the Matrix? Or is this more like reality? Just yes or no to that question. The one on screen that Ranty's presenting. Is that more like the Matrix or more like actual reality?
More like the Matrix.
So when Rumpus has a picture presented to him and says, this is the Matrix because it doesn't match this, he's got it the wrong way round. This is the Matrix, his models of a sphere Earth. This is actual reality. No justification needed for what you see, only a set of eyeballs required.
And the other thing, of course, is that the way Rumpus depicts light assumes that light is behaving in a particular way. And as everybody in this topic knows, that light, nobody really knows what light actually is, or really how it behaves. It's just a lot of assumptions. But one of the key assumptions is that it travels in straight lines, not curves. Remember that one.
Nathan, that was brilliant, tied to what you said earlier in that short paragraph. If you ask him where does he live, he's going to say 3620 Begging the Question Drive. They live in the model. They argue from the model. And it doesn't match the model.
Have you got more to add,
What
Ranty?
model?
Hold on, just 1 second, Chocolate. You've got more to add, Ranty?
No. Sorry, I'll stop sharing. I was just doing this for my own benefit.
And by your own benefit, you mean the benefit of all of your wonderful subscribers over on Ranty Flat Earth channel?
That's the one, yeah. They get to see all this juicy stuff.
The other thing to point out respectfully, guys, is that when Rumpus was pushed for an equal, and because I said to Rumpus, I said, there's an equal and opposite interpretation that could be made here, isn't there? And everybody knows that the equal and opposite interpretation of what you're looking at is that there's no refraction and the Earth isn't a sphere. And if it is a sphere, it's miles bigger than what they tell us it is, because that's where the horizon is on their model. It's the leading edge of the sphere. And everybody knows that the equal and opposite interpretation is that the Earth might not actually be bending, the light might not be bending at all, and the Earth is actually not a sphere. It might actually be flat. And rather than admit that that's the equal and opposite interpretation, Rumpus started talking about simulations and matrices and all that nonsense, rather than say that, yeah, okay, this is an equivalence argument, because it can be seen both ways, and it is entirely governed by the way light behaves. But he wouldn't even concede it as the equal and opposite. And at the end of the day, if that's not PSYOP, I don't know what is.
Well, you're correct. However, Huey's wants a bit of blood from you on account of the fact that you can kill his side of the argument rather than give it to him as equivalence. I mean, don't get me wrong, you still won, and you got concessions left and right for whatever reason. But ultimately speaking, you can still kill their side of the argument with their the physicality of their sphere edge. Well, if you're arguing about refraction, you're arguing about the effects of light bending around this sphere edge. And it can't bend the physical sphere edge. But you're arguing with him about what he wants to keep you on. He led you to argue about light bending around the curve of the Earth. Well, yeah, okay, you can argue about that all day and you won your points. But you could have, but didn't, kill him with the horizon itself. You can't have that loomed. You can't have that being bent around at 7/6R, because 7/6R is bending around it. Do you see what I mean? But you never got to that point with him.
But what I want to point out is that yesterday marked two contrasting positions. Nathan's show was how you don't allow them to beg the question and shut it down before it even starts. Now, whether you agree or disagree with that particular style, whether you think Nathan was harsh or not, he's showing what happens when you don't allow them to beg the question. In equal and opposite contrast, Ranty wanted to allow and I wanted to beg the question too, because I sometimes like to beg the question because I know that there's limits to what they can argue. And that's why I wanted to beg the question, and I allowed that to be the case, but I had to do it on Ranty's because Ranty wanted to run the show. He wanted to demonstrate what happens when you beg the question, and that's the difference between the two shows. So Nathan wasn't allowing them to beg the question, and I thought the show that we had on Ranty's yesterday was what Nathan's show would have ended up being, but Nathan just decided yesterday that he didn't want to let Rumpus beg the question for whatever reason, and I'm cool with that. But it shows the stark difference between letting them beg the question and not letting them beg the question. And it depends on, just be aware that Nathan wasn't being funny. He was just not letting Rumpus beg the question yesterday. And kudos for demonstrating the contrast between the two positions, because it gives you the two examples of how it can go if you beg it and how it doesn't go when you don't let them.
Okay, well, don't shoot the messenger here. I'm just putting across what you're going to get when QE does, if he joins today, give you as a response to what happened with Rumpus. And I'm not in this instance saying you can't beg the question. In fact, I'm giving you it with R assumed in my explanation of why QE is going to be gunning for you. So I'll just try again. If light is bending around a sphere, you see, I am begging the question, then it's bending around the sphere. And the horizon, the geometry for it, is part of the sphere that the light is bending around. So it's not the geometry of the sphere that's being bent 7/6R, and that geometry of the sphere is located at the edge, the horizon. So upon pointing this out, that the physical, geometrically measurable according to them edge that the light is bending around can't have light bend around it because it's the thing the light's bending around. So to get him on track, the horizon had to be the focus of the argument, but you allowed yourself to argue about the refraction of the light that's bending around it on the cranes. Well, he's got that covered in his model, but the horizon itself destroys the model because there's no response to it. It cannot happen, and upon pointing that out to him, it's the death of the argument, rather than, and this has been the case up until now, you say it's obviously and observably flat. He says light's bending around the curve of the Earth, the horizon, to make it look flat. But you didn't need to give him this either or choice, because we've now got the black swan argument. This point of geometry that you can't also bend if light's bending around it.
I understand, and 2 points in response. One, I'm not afraid of John. And two, I'm going to have to concede the point that he attacks me on, because it's called taking one for the team. Sometimes I like to beg the question because I like to know where it goes, and I'm all right with that. And if I get criticised for it, then I have to take the criticism. But on the other hand, sometimes I like to see Rumpus weasel and squirm his way around arguing that straight means curved, because we all know that flat, straight, level does not mean curve. And that's what ultimately he gets back to. And he did it with Ranty a few weeks back. What was it, Ranty? Level is curved. Level is curved. When it gets to that level of stupidity, that's actually worth the audience seeing. So if it means I have to take a bollocking from John because I did what I did, then I'm all right with that, because the audience saw Rumpus looking like an absolute doofus.
Well, can I ask a question, though? Isn't the basis of this argument begging the question? Because isn't the first statement of the modus tollens, isn't it, if P, right? So if the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then the horizon it has to be 1.225 times the square root of the observer height. But isn't that just begging the question because we're giving them the radius from the jump?
That's correct. Exactly what I said at the beginning. I'm not saying you're not allowed to beg the question in this argument, but you've got to beg the question correctly. And that's essentially what QE is going to be saying to you. The point of the modus tollens argument is to put them in a position where they cannot address it with refraction. You can't loom the thing that light's being bent around. Therefore, the modus tollens proves unequivocally by its logical formation that the Earth is not a sphere. It cannot possibly be, and they cannot address this. But as soon as you veer off into the light that's bending around it in the form of the cranes, you're no longer on the modus tollens argument. You've suddenly got an equivalence that he can just stretch out light with. And that's where we were up until this argument came along. Now we've got a definitive death knell for the sphere model and their calculations. And this is it. That's why you'll get bollocked.
I've got a cunning plan, though, to respond to QE. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play dumb. I'm going to play ignorant. And I'm going to say that I don't understand the modus tollens argument. And I'm going to invite Brenda to argue it for me because I don't get it. And then watch QE attack her instead. Because actually, Brenda took credit for QE applying the modus tollens argument. She took credit because she, quote, he learned that from me. And I was like, oh, Brenda.
Oh, isn't that cute?
Can do.
Okay, well, just talk to him rather than roll out a gimp. That's not going to be satisfactory. Just listen to his argument and try and formulate it in the correct manner so that when you do beg the question, you have them absolutely pegged to the wall rather than 3 hours of dancing around looking for alternative concessions when they cannot address this. So just hold them over a barrel with it.
I'd rather just pass him on to Brenda and do it for me.
We did get a concession from the Rumpus, though, throughout this back and forth. And he wanted to know how this image, the image that John's been putting around and Tony, could appear in reality. And he does it himself with Fermat's principle. And that's it. This side-on image, Nathan, okay, fair enough, where you've got your own head in the thing. But this is just a side-on diagram replicating this image.
Yeah, but to be fair, Ranty, it's probably in scale because that lighthouse has definitely been reduced from 200 feet high down to a couple of pixels, right?
No. But when he conceded that this is, when I said to him, I said, you'll have to say that this image is an exact replication of what you would see on a flat plane just using Fermat's principle, he agreed. Game over. We didn't need any curve. We didn't need Earth curve. We didn't need 7/6R refraction. We just needed Fermat's principle and this observation. That was it on a flat plane. And he conceded.
Now the guy's video, BML B69, whatever his name is, now he's getting video. Now I'm getting videos recommended from him, and I just had one recommended the other day or yesterday, which was at 1 foot. He's seeing 31 miles. And I was just like, I mean, this is just now that we've got this argument firmly in our brains, like it's just nonsense to even think about. 31 miles you're seeing at a foot at the beach. And it's another video where you see him put the camera down on the ground.
I just want to point it out as well. In Ranty's chat, when I was with Rumpus back and forth and we were begging the question and doing all the things that I shouldn't have been doing, notice how many times I swore compared to Rumpus. Every other word out of his mouth was the twat word. And I wasn't swearing, but he's getting more and more agitated because I'm putting him in a position where he doesn't want to be. And the only thing he can do is resort to like insult. And I'm like, that demonstrates that you're losing. And I hope everybody in the audience noticed that too, because I deliberately try not to swear. All right, the odd one slips out here and there. I deliberately try not to swear. I try not to insult. I try and address everything that's put my way. And Rumpus can't do that. He just calls me silly names.
Quick shout out to Emma UK, who sent me a smiley face. Thank you very much, Emma UK, for the super chat. Really appreciate your support. She's also a YouTuber, so she does live streams with panels. So subscribe to Emma UK.
Elijah, you were saying something there?
Yeah,
I interrupted.
I
Sorry.
was gonna say that's interesting that you point out this phenomenon where the ballers get agitated at a point that they don't really want to address what you're asking them, because I went through the same thing last night, in my opinion. Just a little.
Yeah, they get cornered and they don't like it, and they start. I mean, Rumpus will start stuttering and stammering when he's getting cornered, and then he starts insults because he knows that he's got evidence that's not strong enough, and mine's stronger, or his point in fact is wrong, or his point in science is wrong. But either way, Rumpus starts stuttering and stammering and swearing, and that's when you're winning. And I just hope that the audience appreciate that I actively try not to swear.
Yeah, and thanks for coming on last night, Elijah. Elijah debated Zanuck on another debate after your one, Tony. So them two got into a bit of back and forth over Soundly's observations.
Soundly's observations prove Dick Earth.
Moon Earth, you mean?
Paper towel Earth.
Oh, hello. I've got the idiots, the idiot panel. Jolly good. Number one, Anthony, that experiment you just talked about is just a polarization.
I was going to say, see what I mean about the insult straight away.
The path of light.
Finally.
There is a polarizing filter on the camera. The light path is not changing. You're a moron. You ray tracing thing, those arrows. You don't understand how ray tracing works. The way you model light in a ray tracer is you think of light emerging from the observer and then finding out where it goes. The fact you think it's reverse, it's a ray trace model, you're a moron. You don't understand any of
Just
this.
local mute the Rumpus.
You just don't understand
Say that
anything
again,
about what you're
Rumpus?
talking. You are science deniers and you don't understand anything, and you are morons. And that's why I get frustrated with you, because you're so stupid. I have to fill in all the work that your teachers missed out in your teenage years. And it's quite demanding for me to have to lead you through something an 11-year-old should know, up to something a 15-year-old should know.
Listen
and the
to
fact
this
that
moron.
I have to fill in the education you missed is quite frustrating. And the fact that you're so illogical. I have to explain logic to you. You didn't understand how mixed West argument works, for instance. You rely on the standard atmospheric model.
Is this pre-recorded?
Doesn't require any information in that about the 76. You use that as a premise. I mean, you don't know how to reason. You don't know how to understand logic. You don't understand science. You don't understand reality. It's just amazing what educational gaps I'm having to fill in for you.
I'll just point out that he's had. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Hello. Just a couple of things to point out. It's had several minutes. We've discussed the argument in length. I've even not tore a strip off Anthony, but made it clear what the argument was. And he's just come in and given us a string of ad homs. So shout out to WTBOFNC, who's just joined as a member as a lion. So thank you very much indeed. And also Agent Dubsky, who's also joined as a member as a penguin. So thank you very much indeed to both of you for joining as the latest Nathan Oakley 1980 channel members. Now, if you are watching this on Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you're watching this live on the Nathan Oakley channel, then this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who did tune in, smashed the super chat, joined as a member, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. As I say, stay tuned if you're watching on the premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!